Language codification, or you can use the word codification of languages. Now, here we go. A lot of people find it difficult to relate when somebody is talking about, codification of language. For example, some people will say, often use this word, Ajayi crowther, gave Igbo their language, the language the Igbo people are speaking today, the Igbo language. Ajayi crowther helped Yoruba to develop their language, and also, and so on and so forth. Now, first of all, what is the meaning of codification of language? What is the definition? First of all, the codification of language is a process, by definition, is a process of developing and standardizing, a language into a fixed written and formal system. Codification of language is a process of developing and standardizing a language into a fixed, written and formal system. So, when you are talking about, codifying a language, it means helping those people to develop their language in a written, how to write it down, their vocabulary, their grammatical aspects, helping them to write down. Okay, when you are talking about codification, does it mean that that person that helped them to jot those things down, also fused from other ethnic group or languages? Yes, the answer is probably yes. If I am from Asan, for example, I'm an Asan person, and I'm given the opportunity, for example, to help the Isekiri to codify, to help them to develop and standardize their language into a written and a formal system. What will I do? There is a high tendency that I will also fuse from my own language into the Shekiri. Yes, there's high tendency I might even take some from the neighboring ethnic group into it. Maybe peradventure the people that, for example, I don't understand the Shekiri language, so somebody will be interpreting for me. The one that person couldn't, know or be able to interpret, I will just use it from my language and complete it. Does that mean that the language that is being standardized does not really exist before? That person that, that is, that codified it, created the language? The answer is no. You can only create, codify a language that already exists, in as much you can fuse your own words into it to make it, more, palatable. Let me use that word. So, this word Ajayi crowther, gave Igbos their language. Ajayi crowther, what Ajayi crowther, you can use it, is wrong, or using the word gave is wrong, but codifying, helping them to standardize it, develop it, is the actual correct form. Because Ajayi crowther, what he did is taking from the people that, as we all know, Igbo people, they are not homogeneous people. They are heterogeneous. Different mini tribes that form the Igbo ethnic group. So what Ajayi crowther did, he took from all the various parts of Igbo and probably fused from the neighbor ethnic group to complete the language. As we all know, no language is completed. No language is complete. Sometimes that you see the British taking from other places to also fuse their own, the English people. Now, what Ajayi crowther did is taking from the subordinate, those mini ethnic group, whether they are of Igbo lineage or not, they took from them and create the language in order for, in a written form, grammatical form, and otherwise, so on and so forth, for other people that are not Igbo race to be able to study it in future without even visiting Igbo land. The same thing Ajayi crowther also did in Yoruba land. The Yoruba language already existed as a language. Yes, it's a language spoken in that geographical location. What Ajayi crowther helped the Yoruba people to do, he's from that place. He helped them to standardize it, develop the language, standardize it into a written form. That's why you see dictionaries, the Bible written in Yoruba language, and so on and so forth. The vocabularies, how to pronounce, because before the arrival of British, we were not writing actually. We have our language, our various languages, spoken in different territories. Before the arrival of the British or the Portuguese, and so on and so on, all those ethnic groups have been existing. They don't write. They always speak their language. They know their language by extending it to their own people. Maybe you have opportunity to visit that place. You learn the language through communication, orally, verbally. Then through that means you can be able to acquire those languages. But the means of being able to acquire language in a scriptural form, you studying it from distance, wasn't existing in those days. Until all the languages were standardized, processed into written, into a fixed written and formal system. Yoruba language, when I see some people will say, oh, Yoruba language was created in 19th. Igbo language was created. Yes, the Igbos are mixed. They are heterogeneous people. Fine. But the language they speak, some of those languages existed. It was created for them to be able to unify, to have one language which they can communicate. That's why if you go to Anambra, they have their dialect. Those dialects were used to form the what do you call a single unit language, unit language for the Igbo people. The same thing applies to the Yoruba, like the what is it called? The Jebu, the other, and so on and so forth. Those mini dialects were used by Ajayi crowther to form that language. Does that mean it wasn't Yoruba language? Yes, it's a Yoruba language, but it were fused. They were Ajayi crowther only helped them to standardize it so that me and you that are not Yorubas can go there, can even take back Yoruba books and study it and be able to comprehend the language. You can be able to communicate by just watching their movie and also going to school. I can go to study Yoruba language in this land and I'll be able to comprehend what I studied. That was what he did. But the Igbo case, what he did, he regenerated the language, take it from all those mini tribes and formulate it into, he helped them to develop it, standardize it, standardize the language into a fixed language where the Igbo can communicate. That's why you see many Igbo language, you will see some things that is related to the Yorubas, you'll see some things that is related to the Edos, you see something that is related to the Esan people. For example, the Ine. Esan call it mommy, Ine. In the Igbo, we call it Ine. And you go to other Ikazo, you see the Ine it will appear. So that's what we call helping people to standardize it. A process of developing and standardizing a language into a fixed written and a formal system. That is the word codification of languages. It's also those people that find it difficult to understand. That's why you see some people will say Ajayi crowther gave the Igbo their language. But that does not necessarily mean that he gave them the language. He helped them to establish the existing language with some existing dialect in that territory, and also helping them to fuse from other neighboring ethnic group and fuse it into the language. That was what Ajayi crowther did. That does not mean that those language did not actually exist, but were just extracted from the many tribes in that zone and beyond. Now let's use for example the Yoruba. What the Ajayi did, what he did for the Yoruba maybe the Yoruba can just disagree. Anybody can disagree what I'm saying. That does not mean that I'm right, 100% correct. In the 90s, what he helped them to do was what they call standardization of language or developing languages. What they call helping people to create alphabets. That's why, like I said, is the system of helping people to create scripture. You see Yoruba Bible today. You can see Yoruba Bible. You see some grammars, written grammars, dictionaries, for example, which belongs to the Yorubas. The same thing applies to the Igbo. Let's go again now. Some people will say our language was not created. Is the Edo language was standardized as well by the missionaries. They standardized the language. The Esan language was also talking about the Esan people. Were Esan language also standardized? The answer is yes. The Esan people, through some of the university we have and some of the previous past historians and scholars, they were able to also and the help of missionaries as well, they were able to also standardize their language. Every language in Nigeria were standardized, develop into a written and a formal system. So this one that some people are saying that Ajayi crowther did not help them to develop their language, like the Igbos are saying. Ajayi crowther helped the Igbos to process, or rather to develop and standardize the language which you speak today into a fixed written and a formal system. That's why you can write and read today. Somebody from US can study Igbo language. Somebody from Esan can study your language. The same way other language, even the Edo language was also standardized by the missionaries. So all the language were standardized. Before the arrival of the British or the colonial people, you were not writing and reading. You were always engaging in horticulture, farming and hunting and so on and so forth. All right. I believe I'll be able to do justice to this. Let's see you in the comment section. Follow me for more video. Like and share.